I have some incredible projects planned for this year, but looking at all these patterns, I realized that they were all doomed to fail before I even got to cut the fabric. I discovered a tiny hidden error in my studio that was ruining every single block. Today I'm sharing my 2026 quilt lineup and the one fix that could have saved all of these projects from the scrap bin. It's January. I'm ready to get started on some of these quilting goals that I've got for this year. Last month was slightly stagnant just because I was trying to wrap up a whole bunch of projects that have been lingering and sitting on my shelf for too long. I wanted to get them done and get them gifted to who they needed to go to and get them where they needed to go before tackling any new projects. If anybody's followed my channel for any length of time, they'll be aware that finishing the projects that I start is typically my biggest downfall. But with 2026 comes new challenges and a brand new year of projects that I can tackle. I did just wrap up a modern improv quilt top that I made an attempt at filming the entire process. In reality, when reviewing the footage, it was really just 15 to 30 minutes for each block of me scratching my head and the little math equations floating through the sky while I was trying to figure out what size the quilt blocks actually needed to be. So with that being said, moving forward in 2026, I want to emphasize putting more effort into getting some quality footage that can be used for my videos so that not every video that I publish is just an update video. I'm going to go over the ideas and the techniques that I want to put emphasis on for my 2026 goals. There are 4 big projects that I want to tackle that I'm really anticipating taking me all year. I may not be giving them as much credit as they deserve. I'm hoping that I can finish at least one of these by the end of the year. I'm also going to get into a handful of other quilts that may not be as large of an undertaking as the first 4, but they will be an undertaking in their own right. This year, I want to put a little more effort also into finishing quilts once I start them. That's what got me into the December that I had, was that I just had too many quilt tops or half basted or half sandwiched quilts that needed to be quilted. And I just procrastinated until the last possible minute. But I got them done and I love them and they were great. You can see all of those in my last video, which was the December updates video. The first big quilt project that I want to tackle is a full applique quilt. I'm going with a Kim McLean pattern, the Roseville Album. I really chose this pattern because I saw on one of Tula Pink's weekly updates, on her Tuesday update, she did one of these with her colors and it spoke to me. So I've wanted to do it ever since I saw that video. I think I'm finally going to purchase the pattern and I'm going to start working on that because I really want to get better with applique and get more comfortable with doing that technique. I feel like that quilt, however very challenging it's going to be, will allow me to play around with some new colors and some new patterns and new styles that I don't typically use, and they will work very well for that quilt. Like I said, this quilt is probably way above where my current quilting level is, but I feel like it'll give me a lot of room to improve and to develop my skills throughout the process. And like I said, I'm going to take all year for this one, so this is not something that I'm hoping to knock out in the first month. A full EPP quilt, or an English paper piece quilt. Anybody that's followed my channel for any length of time at this point understands that I thoroughly enjoy doing EPP. I think the main aspect of it that I enjoy is the fact that I can really take it anywhere with me. I have my tin I can take with me in the car if I'm going for a long car ride. It goes with me back and forth to work so that on my lunch break or whenever I have a free moment, everything is there that I need, that I can get a couple of hexagons sewn together. It's much more relaxing and it removes me from my sewing room. I love it back here, but sometimes I just want to be able to go sit and watch a movie and just sew some hexagons together. For this one, I've picked the Tales of Cloth Cherish quilt. Ever since I first saw an example of this quilt, I've been hooked. I've gone back and forth with a couple other EPP patterns, but this one I think is the one I'm going to go with. I am going to purchase the full kit that comes with the templates and all the paper pieces and the pattern, just so that I get everything at once and I can start picking up fabric for it. Number 3 might surprise some people because it's probably not the most advanced technique that's on this list. It's something that intimidated me last year. I want to do a block of the month. It sounds kind of silly to say that out loud. The idea of just having a box show up at the beginning of every month that's got a set of instructions, the fabric that I need, and it's a different technique. With that being said, I went with a pattern by Faughnan. It's the Ramble block of the month. I almost missed out on this one, or I thought I missed out on it, because I had it in my shopping cart at Pink Door Fabrics for over a month, and I just couldn't get myself to push the checkout button. And then by the time that I finally did, it was out of stock. I believe it's back in stock now for pre-order, but at the time It was not. So I went to her website and I found one of the other sites that she listed that was going to be doing a block of the month sew along with her. And I picked one that was actually closer to me, so I think it'll work out better. The last big project that I want to do is probably not as large of an undertaking as the first three, but I want to do I'm going to call it my plaid-ish quilt. I own the book Urban Quilting by Wendy Chow, and in that she's got a pattern that's really just some simple squares that are sewn together in a pattern that gives the illusion of being plaid. I have some fabric in mind for this, and I'm just waiting for my local fabric store to get it in, and I'm really excited about this one. And you might be asking why that's a long-term project, but because I want to hand quilt it. I want to hand quilt the entire thing, which I'm just giving myself the benefit of the doubt that it's going to take me a while. I know that when I did the sashiko style stitches on my shibori quilt, that took me the better part of a month, and that was just doing some crosses or some X's inside of the blocks that I had already machine stitched. These 4 quilt patterns, I'm anticipating taking me the better part of the year to do them, and I'm not going to be in a hurry. I will be filling everybody in along the way as I go. I'm anticipating making kind of a series where as I do certain blocks for these. I think the biggest challenge that I'm going to face with a lot of these projects is picking out fabric. I have a hard time with that, and I'm not very good at color theory. So putting 2 fabrics together that I think looks good may not appeal to everybody. But that's why I do this, because I make the quilts for me. Those aren't the only 4 projects that I'm going to work on this year. I've also got a whole other handful of quilts that as I have the time and as I have the budget to purchase fabric, I am going to work on. I'm not going to dig too much into these because I hope to do videos on them as I go, that I might tell the story on why I picked these quilts as I go. But these are the general overview of the quilts that this year I want to get done. There's an Alaska quilt. I'm going to do the quilt Northern Wilderness by Marie Noah. This one spoke to me the moment that I saw it. I actually saw this quilt, or one very similar to it, at the quilt convention that I went to in Fredericksburg, Virginia this year. I did a lot of Googling to figure out where I could get that pattern, and that pattern is actually on the way. So that might be one of the first ones that I tackle this year. I have 2 Libs Elliott patterns that I want to do. The first one is Pineapples, and the second one is Orbiter. These ones, looking through, were the 2 that I liked the most out of her entire collection. I want to make them all, but I can't do all of them in one year. I'm going to do another shibori quilt. I think I mentioned that in the last update video, but I'm going to do another one that sticks more closely to what my initial inspiration was for the first quilt that I made. That one, throughout the process, veered way off into what it is today. Very happy with how that one turned out, but I want to make another one. I have 2 foundation paper piece quilts that I'm going to be making this year. I did sign up for the Julius Handmade 2026 block of the month pattern. I'll show a quick overview of what that's supposed to look like up right there. This one I'm super excited about because it's a full quilt that's all foundation paper piece. And then I also have another project that I have in my Etsy cart, but I have not purchased yet. But they're essentially FPP TV screens that I think would be very cool. And I have an idea, and I just need to figure out some of the details of how I want to move forward with that before I purchase any fabric. Last year, I purchased the Drip pattern by Traitorous Studios. This one was wildly out of my scope for what I could do when I purchased it, but it was very cool, and I wanted to have it so that when the time came that I felt comfortable doing that, I could do it. That time is going to be this year. I found an example of the fabric that I want to use. It's locally available. I'm going to tackle that one. I'm still trying to figure out if I need to spend the money to purchase the acrylic cutting templates, or if I can get away with the paper ones. We'll see how that one goes when that time comes. Elizabeth Hartman has a new pattern coming out this year. Outdoors. It coincides with her fabric line that's coming out as well. I am going to purchase this one as a kit because I do want her fabric to go with the pattern, and I don't want to have to try and procure that fabric locally because no place around me carries Moda. Getting that fabric is a little challenging. I do have the Tula Pink Nova EPP pattern. I would like to try and tackle that one this year, but that's kind of a low on the priorities one. I still can't figure out what I want to do for fabric for that pattern. It's just been sitting there collecting dust at this point. I need to order the acrylic templates for that one, and then hopefully I can start that one this year. Ruby Star Society has a new fabric line coming out in April. It's called Fire Glow. It's based off of dragons. The moment that I saw this in the Moda quarterly release, I knew I had to make a quilt with it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but once that comes out, I'm going to make a quilt with that because it speaks to my nerd inside. So we'll see. There'll be a video about that when I do it. the mystery of what I found in my sewing room that could have doomed all of these projects from the very beginning. I have a Brother sewing machine. It came with a 1/4-inch sewing foot, and I assumed, you know what they say about assuming, that when I hit to stitch 1, which is my center position straight stitch, that it would be at a 1/4 inch. I was installing some 1/4-inch tape on my sewing machine the other day, and I put a ruler down so that I could see exactly where my 1/4-inch seam, my 1/4-inch foot lined up with the needle, with the tape. And I realized that with my ruler on the edge of the 1/4-inch presser foot, my needle was actually more than a 1/4 inch over. I did some digging and found that the stitch width setting that my straight stitch defaults to is actually 1 click to the left of where it's actually supposed to be to hit that 1/4 inch seam. I did do a test run with another project that's just kind of a filler project for this year, but this is a skull pattern that came out of one of Tula Pink's books, which was the first one that I ever purchased, and I'll put a link to that down in the description if anybody is interested in creating one of these. I have a stack of fat quarters that are all in the same color family, and I'm just going to do one of these blocks whenever I get the chance and put a quilt together. But this one put a lot of emphasis. There's a lot of blocks right here that are very small, and when they're sewn together, being off a 1/16 of an inch on every single one of these adds up when it gets to the outside. This is after I corrected it, and it looks amazing. Everything lined up the way it was supposed to. I've been sewing wrong this whole time. I haven't been sewing wrong. I've been assuming that my presser foot is at a 1/4 inch where it's supposed to be, and it has not been. So the big mystery is solved. Hopefully moving forward, I'll be able to have slightly more accuracy when I'm doing these blocks. Someday I'll finish the Flying Geese quilt. It'll be more apparent when I'm trying to wrap that one up that the seams are more accurately at a 1/4 inch because things will fit together better. So that's my plan for 2026. I'm excited to dive into these projects. I'm excited to have some long-standing projects that don't need to be tackled all at once, and I can slowly work on them over the course of the year. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, do all the things, and please leave a comment and let me know what you're doing in 2026. Do you have any big plans for a year-long project that you're trying to tackle this year? Once again, you'll see me at QuiltCon in February. I'll be there on Friday the 20th. Come up and say hello if you see me. And otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.